Hello, guys, and welcome back to the official Dallas Stars podcast of THBN Starcastic Remarks. My name is Ryan, alongside my brothers James and Chris. We are literally a week and 1 day away from the very first game of the 2023-2024 regular season. We want to thank DraftKings Sportsbook for being our sponsor. As always, go and use that promo code THPN. As always, when you go and use their services for a special little offer from them. Guys, how are y'all doing today? Y'all doing okay?
I'm doing pretty good. It's my 2-year anniversary of dating Samantha, so that was nice. We didn't do anything today, but on the weekend we're gonna go dress up and we're gonna go to a nice place to eat. So that should be fun.
Awesome. Chris, how are you doing?
I guess his mic's not having fun.
We finally did it.
No, he's finally quiet.
He was doing some very strange things.
Questionable.
Questionable. That's a good word. That's a very good PC word to use, James. Before we started, Chris, are you actually?
You're not.
He's actually not.
Good luck with that.
Okay, well, while Chris is trying to figure out his technical difficulties, of course it happens right as we go live. But we're getting down to the nitty-gritty of it, you guys. We've been getting into this for months now, talking about this team, where they're at, and we're finally going to actually sit down and talk about the question: is this the year that they finally complete the goal of every NHL team before they begin the season? Are they going to win the Stanley Cup this year? We'll talk about that a little bit. We're going to dive into some NHL news as well. And as we're also going to talk about kind of Pete DeBoer's 4-line strategy and how that affects the Stars going forward and why they're being viewed as a Stanley Cup contender. We're going to look a little bit at the Athletics Stars season preview. They got some good questions in there that we'll also discuss. But first off, before getting into any of that, we have to acknowledge the fact that DFW Sports are actually doing pretty good right now, huh?
Can I talk now?
You can't
talk.
Hooray!
Yeah.
The audio quality is probably a little bit worse, but we are here.
Yes.
Yeah, Rangers, amazing. I mean, I said it all season long. If the Rangers have one strength, it's their pitching. That's what everyone's been saying. And they did it. 1 run all series. So
no shot.
That's great. A little bit of a stretch to say DFW Sports is doing well because the Cowboys did just lose to the Cardinals.
Okay, that was 2 weeks ago. It was a one-off.
2 weeks ago. That was basically last season. So we're good. We're still good.
They came out and dominated in their last game. So
they did.
They did well.
They took care of some business.
So
hey,
okay.
Who knows? We got 3 Dallas teams that should be in the playoffs. 4 now. Actually, Mass should be in there too.
Yeah, they should.
They dumpstered it at the end of the year. So we'll see. Maybe some good times are ahead.
I still find it crazy that they were fined $100,000 for benching their players in the last game of the season.
They deserved it. Yeah, that sucks. That was crappy.
Dallas fans over here. Yeah, they deserved it. Yeah.
Yep.
But okay, and I got to ask you about this because this is all I'm seeing on Twitter, and you knew we were going to have to talk about it, but are y'all annoyed with the whole Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift stuff?
I'm not going to talk about this on this podcast. This is a protest.
I'm sick of it. I'm tired of hearing about it.
But don't even talk about it. Moving on. Who cares?
Okay, but
not who cares.
Not
for a second. Wait, for a
second. 7 minutes in and we're already done.
We'll skip it to then.
Hockey.
All right. So, do we want to start NHL news first or Star stuff first?
Yeah, I don't care. You pick. You're the host.
I don't care.
I don't get paid to host.
Okay. Well, you actually don't get paid to do anything.
We don't make any money.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. I forgot about that.
All right. 3 quick little news things. We talked about Trevor Zegras last podcast with David Castillo. Trevor Zegras did sign an extension, 3 years at $5.75 million. So that's good for him. Good for the Ducks.
Yep.
Thoughts on
good
that?
for everybody, I think. Yeah, bridge deal, like you were saying, a little bit higher of a bridge deal, but he's also a little bit better of a player. So makes sense.
It looks like he really wanted the 6, and the Ducks really didn't want to give it to him. So settled on just under 6.
Well, it sounds like they were lowballing him at like 3 or 4, and then he wanted like 8 million. So, I mean, that's about right. So, anyways, moving on. Extensions for a couple of Minnesota players. Marcus Foligno, he signs a 4-year deal to continue being there, and so does Matt Zuccarello. If there's one player that I ever wish we had kept as a Dallas Star, it would have been Matt Zuccarello. He looked so good on that that playoff run that we had. I guess it was many years ago now. But thoughts on him? And he's 36 years old now. He took a $2 million pay cut to stay with Minnesota. Obviously, him and Kaprizov has something going for him. But what do you think of the signings for the Minnesota Wild?
Yeah, I think the bigger problem with Minnesota is more so their depth than their top guys. I mean, of course, you got to keep those, but beyond their, well, not even their first line, beyond Kaprizov, no one really scores goals for them. So it's going to be a little bit rough for them to find goal support.
And you got to have another good year in goaltending, too, if you really want to be able to compete.
Yeah, last year they had great goaltending, and they weren't that good.
Do y'all think that Philip Gustafsson is going to be able to do it again? Just random tangent.
I don't think as good as he did last season, but I think he'll still be solid.
Is he going to be the starter over Marc-Andre Fleury?
Yes.
I think so too. Okay, I think so too. I don't expect him to get to like to the 930 that he had, which was ridiculous. I still think he's a good goaltender, though. I can see him getting like around Ottinger numbers, maybe a little lower.
Yeah, he'll be
like 915-ish.
Above average in the league.
Yeah. Okay, moving on from that because we don't like the Minnesota Wild. This is the big one. This is the big news that came out actually the day after we did our last podcast episode, and everyone has been talking about it. But arguably the best goaltender in the league, probably not arguably the best goaltender in the league, but Andrei Vasilevsky is not going to be starting the season with the Tampa Bay Lightning because of a lumbar disc herniation. That sounds very painful
for a hockey injury.
And he had surgery to correct it, and he's out for 8 to 10 weeks, aka 2 months to begin the season.
Yeah,
and they did not have a good backup goaltender to begin with. So, does this hurt Tampa Bay's chances going forward of making the playoffs? How bad is this for them?
Yeah, of making the playoffs, no, I don't think it hurts it. You'll have a tough, slow start, but you're still Tampa Bay. You have amazing depth and forwards and defense. You're going to be fine there. And then the main thing, you're also Tampa Bay. All you have to do is get in the playoffs, and you're probably one of the scariest teams. So
it's true.
The big thing is that like the whole team kind of had like a down year last year. So no matter what, they're gonna have to be better this year. So not having Vasilevsky for the first 2 months, I don't think really will make that much of a difference either way. I mean, he is a great goaltender, but if the team is not playing the way that they should, then it's not going to matter whether he's in net or not. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, no, that made sense. No, that made sense. I think this is going to hit them harder than some people realize, because one of the things you kind of
some people, James.
But you really can't have a bad start and expect to make the playoffs.
In general, I agree. Yes, I was going to say that. Unless you're the Tampa Bay Lightning, is my opinion on that.
But and I know they still do have some depth. They still got Anthony Cirelli. They've still got Chernak and some guys lower on the totem pole, but that are really good. But the thing is, it's not the same like it was when they went on their 3 consecutive Stanley Cup Finals runs. It's not the same. So, I mean, they don't have Gord, they don't have Coleman, they don't have a lot of the same players. But I think this is going to hit them harder than some people think. Do I still think they're going to make the playoffs? Yes. But I don't think they're going to – I think they're going to be a wild card this year without having Vasilevsky for the first 2 months of the season. That's just me.
I would be befuddled if that were the case.
So, but we'll see how that affects the Lightning and their chances to make the playoffs and be one of the best teams in the Atlantic Division. So, okay, moving on to Dallas Stars stuff. There's a really good long preview for the Dallas Stars, kind of talking about what the expectations are for this team from the Athletic, and it wasn't from Sod, it was from Dom, from Shayna, and some others who kind of took a look at the Stars, and they look like a perennial Stanley Cup contender according to these guys. So I'm just gonna read like the literally the very first sentence. And the days of treating the Dallas Stars as a one-line team on the fringes of this Western Conference playoff picture are officially over. And I think that's true. That's absolutely true. And we've seen that with the hype that the media in general has kind of created around this team. It's not like us last year when we were kind of tooting the horns and saying, hey, we actually have a pretty decent team here. And nobody was picking the Stars to make the playoffs. It was all, the Jets and the Preds and the Blues. And none of those three teams made the playoffs. I don't include the Jets in that because they got destroyed. But everyone is actually recognizing the fact that the Stars are a perennial Stanley Cup contender now. And I think it's awesome, and I'm loving it.
Yeah, and I think the questions last year were still fair. I mean, I think we had better insight on them because of how much we knew about this team and what we thought the answer to the season prior was, which was Bones leaving and changing up the system, which turned out to be the case. A toot on our horns there. But now all those question marks are answered. DeBoer's system is good. The young players were great. Ben did take a step forward. So almost all the question marks we had during last season preview were all big, huge thumbs up. So when that happens, obviously you're gonna be noticed, and we're definitely, I mean, top 4 team in the league at least, I'd say, going into this season.
Should be.
Should be.
Expectation is top 4.
Okay.
If you don't get top 4 this year, if you are not in the final 4 of the playoffs, it is a failure of a season.
Yeah.
So when you take a look at Dom Decision's projection for the Dallas Stars and where they're going to land, his projection for the Dallas Stars is going to be 4th in the NHL. So, Chris, kind of what you said, being top 4 in the NHL with 105 points. Their chances of making the playoffs right now, according to his model, 94%. And they have the second highest odds of making the Stanley Cup final at 10%. So, I mean, what else do you need to say about the expectations of this team and where it's at?
Yeah, it's nice when you had such a good season, you lose no one, and you pick up Matt Duchene. So it's pretty hard. Yeah, pretty hard just from off-season perspective to be like, this team's going to be any amount worse.
Yeah, exactly. And then even from last season, we can dig into this a little bit more next week during our season preview too. But the lessons you learned from last season are so glaringly obvious too. Like having Harley to fill a role there, that's obviously going to be one of our bigger question marks. But having him throughout the season as that option and moving and taking a step forward is great. Lundqvist is going to be better this year, a young player who's still learning his role. That's going to be great. Knowing that we can't play Ottinger that much. And probably this year, if we do go into a race for the division and we only have one goaltender, I guess we're just going to lose the division. I mean, that's the lesson you learned there, really, is what it was. Is that it's better to have a healthy goaltender than it is to try and win the division, especially when you lose it anyway. So the lessons we learned last year are so clear. And like you said, James, the additions are clearly better. Mm-hmm. That it has to be an improvement.
So one of the things that they talk about in the article is the success that the Stars have had, and then it seems immediately after they've had some real big disappointment. So obviously we look at 2 seasons in particular, the 2015-16 season where the Stars, it was all about offense, and it was Antti Niemi and Kari Lehtinen in net, and we couldn't keep the puck out of our net. It was fun hockey. Don't get me wrong. It was so much fun. But that team, with being the best in the Western Conference, was not built for the playoffs. And then the success after that obviously faltered highly. And then when you look at the 2019-2020 season, it was a bit of a surprise. Obviously, COVID kind of screwed everything up. Stars go to the Stanley Cup final, only lose to the Tampa Bay Lightning. It looks like a fluke right now. I'm hoping it's not, but that was quickly followed up with a really rough season by the Dallas Stars, which, to their credit, yes, we have to say it, there were a lot of injuries during that season afterwards and a lot of overtime losses. We'll talk about that too. But one of the things they kind of look at is that this mediocrity that the Stars, I wouldn't say mediocrity because they haven't been 500.
It is mediocrity.
Like up and down mediocrity, if that makes any sense. It doesn't seem going forward that that's going to happen with the way that the Stars are stacked up. They've got the old core we've talked about, the Pavelski, the Ben, the Sagan. I'd maybe even include Lindell in that category, kind of the older guys that have been around for a while. You got the new core with Robertson, Hintz, Miro, Ottinger. And then you've even got young guys who are coming up, and Stankoven, Bork, and Bischel, who's done fantastic. All three of those guys still at training camp and playing preseason games. So the feeling around this team is very different than those previous years.
Yeah, the previous 2 years for sure were way different. 15, 16, you knew that was not sustainable. I mean, it was literally like Oilers Flames level of let's just throw crap at the net and we'll just outscore everybody. Everybody knew that wasn't sustainable. Same thing with the goalie situation. As that season progressed, the Letton and Niemi situation got worse and worse until it was literally not usable. And then the next season, obviously, the injuries were massive. But even beyond both of those reasons, both those seasons were not followed up by great additions as well. So we would have those seasons. The next season, we're like trying to keep as much of the same team together as we can. This season, we're not doing that. We have added two huge pieces. Dodonov, Matt Duchene are insanely massive. Harley is arguably even more important than both of them if he can actually develop into the player that we think he can be. And same thing with Lundqvist. I mean, he didn't play the end of the season or the playoffs last year. We're seeing a full new player who pretty much took the beginning of last season to learn the role and try and find himself. And he's going to do even better. I've heard he's had a great camp from all the stuff that we've read on how he's been, and he's added muscle and looks stronger. And yeah, this team isn't just trying to keep what we did last year and see if we can do it again. They have actively improved by a substantial margin.
And before, I mean, I felt like a lot of games we try to scrap to win, and we're just trying to figure something else out and just get down there and score a couple of goals. And now the games that we see now is like we are just playing how we always play. And some nights we absolutely blow the other team out of the water, and some nights it's close because some bounces just don't go the right way. And there's times where we can actually just be like, the puck bounced in the opposite direction. And that's kind of how the game went sometimes. But like, you couldn't say that before. There's always something before that you could kind of pinpoint, be like, we could have done better here, and we lost the game because of this.
And that was the key on the 2019-2020 season, is that with Bones' play style, we never controlled the game. We were always in it, but we never ran away with it. And now we are taking control of games, just like you said, James. That's a really good point.
One of the things that popped into my head when you were talking about that, James, is the fact that one of Jim Nill's favorite things he likes to talk about is last year, it didn't seem like the Stars were ever out of a game, right? They might have had a couple of random blow-ups like that. I think they had one against the Kings and one against the Wild.
Probably 4, I think. There's 4 I can think of off the top of my head.
But for the most part, they were in every single game. They were very close into every single game. Now, we would like to see the overtime losses kind of go down a little bit, obviously. But that wasn't – I mean, we were in every single game.
And they were in every game in a different way than they were in 2019-2020. 2019-2020, they just tried to keep it close, and we're just hanging on. Now it's our explosiveness is what keeps us in games. We can score 4 goals in 5 minutes, and that's not – insane to think about, and because it can happen in multiple different lines,
and still have defense and still have an elite goaltender to back it up as well, which is something we didn't have in 2015-16.
When you're behind by that much, I think the elite goaltender has more to do with it than the defense, because you're cheating a little bit, and then Jake Ottinger makes a big save when you need it, and you still stay alive. So, but yeah, I totally agree. I mean, having the explosive offense to be able to climb back and a great goaltender, Definitely need that. And the defense locks it down whenever we are ahead by a billion. I mean, third periods when this team is up by 2 and 3 goals you might as well not watch it. Nothing's going to happen.
So moving on further into the article, the strengths of this team. Obviously, they talk about the core. The core is one of the strengths of this team, but that's with every major Stanley Cup contender. So they went down deep into it and kind of talked about, okay, what's really great about this team? It's the top line. The top line is, and I even said it on our THPN Central Division season preview thing. They are the best line in hockey and have been for several years now. Offensively, defensively, in the face-off dot, Rope Hintz has increased. He's gotten better. Pavelski has also been pretty good on the face-off dot. And they go kind of down deep into all three of the players. Robertson, but there's one particular stat that I wanted to pull up. I thought this was really interesting. This is talking about Robertson. Over the last 3 years, he scored over 2.8 points per 60 at 5-on-5 each season. Something no other player can say other than Nathan MacKinnon being close. I mean, and then everyone talks about the hype around Nathan MacKinnon. He's probably the third best player in the league behind Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, especially offensively. And when your name's mentioned in the same category as Nathan MacKinnon like that, and you're even better in that particular stat, that's something that's glowing about this top line.
Yeah, and that shows that they do it in all facets of the game, not just offensively, or not just on the power play. I mean, where their power play is still fantastic, but that's not the only place that they do it, especially Robertson, who is probably better 5-on-5 than he is on the power play.
I mean, really, for me, it's more the power play than anything. I mean, I know we have a great top line, but the power play was the reason why we won so many games last year. I mean,
but Jason Robertson's stat is 2.8 per 60 at 5-on-5, not even on the power play. So the power play is just sprinkles.
But you don't win from one person. Robertson may be scoring all the goals 5-on-5, but I mean,
most of Pavelski and Ropes are on the power play.
Well, and Ben's. Most of Ben's was on the power play too.
Ben is huge, like almost more than 50%.
Yeah, I mean, the power play just blew up. That's why we won multiple games last year. I mean, there'd be games where we had 3 or 4 power play goals, and the game's just over before it started.
Agreed.
So they continue on and they kind of talk about some other facets of the team, and then they bring up Jake Ottinger. He's only 24, and a lot of people still forget he's not even in his late 20s yet. He's got a projected net rating of plus 12, and it's a stat that that Dom uses to kind of measure goaltenders, and that puts him 6th in the league behind Sorokin, Saros, Shesterkin, Vasilevsky, and Hellebuck. So, I mean, a lot of those guys have been elite goaltenders for years. Vasilevsky, Hellebuck, Saros is kind of more recent, but he's been good for a long time, just not elite like he has been the past couple of years. But I mean, again, it's a strength of the team that a lot of, Stanley Cup contenders don't have.
Yeah, and in Mike Heike's article that he published earlier today about the preseason game from last night, Ottinger talked a lot about how he was focusing this offseason on rest and recovery. So actually just practicing less, which for a guy who's at his level is probably not that big of a deal, and especially good for him to get that rest. And also focusing on ways for him to recover throughout the season in between games. He's focusing on his health and nutrition and everything like that to make sure that he's fresh for each start. And that's been a focus of his this season, which will be huge.
And that's massive because of like the mindset he has. He wants to play every single game, no matter what. He wants to play all 82. All 82. That's what it felt like for the past 2 or 3 years now from him. He says it all the time. I want to play every single night. And that's just like, in today's age, that's not feasible. It just isn't.
And I'm sure that is still what he wants. And that's the mindset he needs to keep. He needs to keep the mindset of wanting to play every night and doing the rest of recovery and making his coaches force him out. It would be the correct thing to do, in my opinion. Because you want to have a goalie with that mindset, with the guy who wants to be the guy. Because especially in that position, you got to have an ego. I mean, it's just you.
Moving on to 2 more two more strengths
Strengths.
for the team here. Sorry, I couldn't think of the word. Goodness, I'm tired. Okay. They don't really mention this much in the article, but Ardell is absolutely 100% right. I don't think there is another team other than maybe LA that has as strong center depth as the Stars do.
LA's not
And
close.
I mean, you've got Anze Kopitar, you've got Pierre-Luc Dubois, you've got
That's
oh my
pretty
gosh,
close.
Deneau.
Do they have
they're
Tyler
pretty
Sagan and
good.
Matt Duchene on their third line?
They've got Philip Deneau on their third line, who scored almost 30 goals last year.
That's pretty good.
That's still pretty good.
But do they have a Sagan and a Matt Duchene? Do they have two Deneaus? I don't think so. We got two.
We have a
Chris is
shell
being
of
Homer
Sagan.
Yeah, but
Two Deneaus.
anyways, y'all talk about the center depth for a little bit, and then there's one little negative thing that I'll talk about here in a second. But how good is the Stars center depth for?
Yeah, the main
for
thing
this
that the center
upcoming season?
does is it makes you have a unstoppable face-off percentage. I mean, the Stars are unstoppable because they are always playing on their strong
Yeah.
side.
It's
Every
the-
other team is running four face-off guys, maybe five sometimes.
Yeah, I
Stars
think
are
it
running
was-
8.
I think it was the only stat that Boston didn't get first in last year.
Face-off.
Was
I think they were
face-off
second.
percentage. They were second. That it's ridiculous how many face-offs we won last year.
And we're gonna do it again this year because we have just as many centers and they're all fantastic. The other thing that does, I can't remember if I was reading this in the Athletic article that you mentioned, Ryan, or maybe this was Heike's article. The center is mainly the guy who is traditionally responsible for coming all the way back in the defensive zone and playing around his net defensively. And when you have two centers who are comfortable doing that in their own zone, you're able to kind of pass that off depending on whoever is back first, which is kind of the way most hockey is nowadays in general, is whoever's back first kind of does that. But they can even stay back there and kind of take priority as the game goes on. So you're able to stay fresher because you're not having to skate as much as a traditional center might have to as well. So I thought that was kind of an interesting point that Heike pointed out as well with having a bunch of different centers.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was Heike's article. I think I remember.
Yeah, as I
reading that.
kept talking, I was getting more certain of it being Heike.
Well, and then when you look at each line has two capable centers. Again, I was going to mention it, and Ardell beat me to it, but they have two capable centers on every single line. Now, I do want to talk about this little negative Nancy here, but we've had some early kind of injuries and kind of things creep up on very important key players. We have to talk about it. Roe Bahens has not played a preseason game yet. Neither has Wyatt Johnston, because they're both apparently kind of dealing with some minor little things.
They're dinged
And then,
up.
yes, that's a good way of putting it. And then Foxa last night was just absolutely creamed from behind. So, and he left the game and did not return. So we talk about how great the center depth is for the Dallas Stars, and I'm not too worried.
might
'cause
need
we
it.
Still got, yeah, we're gonna need it to start the season, I think. So it even got to the point today where, I don't know if y'all saw, but Kyle McDonald, who James was really high on from the Traverse City prospect tournament, actually got called up from the Texas Stars today after literally getting
just
down
getting
there a
sent
couple
down.
of days ago. So he's probably there to kind of fill in the role for a couple of preseason games remaining before this season starts. So is that something we should be worried about right now? Because especially with Robe Hintz. Robe Hintz is a great center. He is absolutely a number one center, but he's shown in the past that he is injury prone. Should we be worried?
He'll be back.
Yeah, they won't play another preseason game. I don't think any of them will, but that doesn't mean that they're actually injured either. It's just precautionary. Everyone also in Heike's article was talking about, it's preseason. We kind of care. Even DeBoer was like, you kind of have to play preseason games, I guess. I don't know. So no one really understands why we're doing it still, but whatever.
Yeah.
Go ahead, James.
For me, regardless, like if they're not ready for night one, I mean, we still have prospects who look like they are ready to come into the league, and they will at least get some games right out.
That was my next point. Honestly, I'm a little bit more excited than apprehensive about.
We're gonna see
centers out.
players who we probably would not see unless people were hurt.
Yeah.
Can Stan Coven come in and have to play a center role?
He
Yes.
might.
That would be cool. I would love
he
to see
won't
that.
play a center role, but yes, he might make the roster. It would be weird if that's the roundabout way that that Stankoven makes opening night rosters because we have 3 centers injured. That would be interesting.
Yeah, but
The likelihood of that happening is near zero. I think all of them are going to play the first game.
okay. So moving on to the weaknesses. Obviously, we talked about exactly defense. Who is
Defense
gonna
man.
step up? Who is it? Is
Defense
it gonna be
men
Harley?
specifically.
Is it gonna be Lundqvist? Who is gonna step up to kind of be? I mean, like Miro Heiskanen was to John Klingberg when John Klingberg was still here. Like we had 2 elite puck moving defensemen who were very good at moving the puck out of the zone and were very good offensively. Now, Miro Heiskanen has gone above and beyond John Klingberg's role. He is not just good offensively; he is incredible defensively.
He's
So-
better defensively than he is offensively, I think.
Oh yeah, I agree. I agree. When you can keep up with Connor McDavid and make the plays that he does
That's
defensively
insane.
on Connor McDavid, yes, I agree with you. But it almost feels like it's Harley's role to lose, and Lundqvist is kind of there as kind of secondary necessary evil if needed. So,
Yeah.
what do y'all think?
The interesting thing here is that, yes, it's a weakness because this is what we were worst at last year and was the biggest thing that was exposed when we played Vegas in that last series was the difference in the defense depth. But we also have addressed it, but we've addressed it with question marks. We've got Harley, who's played less than, 30 or 40 regular season hockey games in the NHL. And then we've got Lundqvist, who obviously had to get yanked at the end of the season because he wasn't progressing to the point where coaches were comfortable with them. But you give them those options. I feel like at least one has to progress to a point where they're good and very trustable, and the other one will be good enough to play, and that will be good enough for you to break up the Lindell Hockenpah pairing, like our good friend. I can't remember his name. Who did we talk to last week?
David.
I am so sorry, David. His last name starts with a C.
And you know what? He actually listens to the podcast too. He's gonna be like, what
I'm
the heck,
so
man?
sorry, David. I remember his articles. I'm sure that's what he cares more about. His amazing point of breaking up that pair, while great defensively, it is killer to anything offensively, which all metrics point to. That would
on
be
the penalty kill
fantastic.
together.
Yes, perfect on a penalty kill. But being able to break them up is going to help the decor immensely, and it's going to even things out as well and make the bottom pair look less bad.
Yeah.
Because
And
the bottom pair was not good.
the crazy thing to me is like even with the D pair we had against Vegas, we still we were 2 goals away from that series completely spinning on its head just in the first 2 games. I mean, you get the goal in overtime, or you don't give the puck away. And it's a bad mistake at a bad time for Suter in that game too. But those 2 plays that was the series really.
Yeah, the Stars lost the series in 6 games and probably played only 2 good games, and they won both of them.
Yeah.
And the other ones, they were probably the 4 worst games that we played in the playoffs.
Well, no, that's not necessarily true. Remember, the first 2 games, they were complete opposites. They both went to overtime, and Vegas won both. The first, I can't remember which
Stars
one was
didn't play
which,
good.
but
First
one
was
game,
Vegas dominated.
yeah, okay, Vegas dominated, and we did not deserve to even be close in that game, and somehow we tied it at the end. And in the second game, we absolutely should have won that game. We deserved to win that game, and we just didn't get the last goal. That's just how it worked.
I was
out.
in
That's
Germany. I claim ignorance.
Yeah, you have a little bit of an excuse there.
I
Chris.
was
That's
watching it at 3 a.m.
Yes, you actually were. That's fair. So honestly, I think he's going to be able to do it. Harley, specifically Harley, being able to step up into a top 4 role. He's had numerous stints down in the AHL. This is the time for him to kind of step up. And if not, and Lundqvist can't do it either, the Stars are going to be looking for a top 4 defenseman come trade deadline time. And
Then you're in
maybe
trouble.
even a top 2 defenseman. I don't know.
I think you're looking for one anyway, if you can find a way to get one. But yes, I agree.
The main problem with calling on Harley to be a top 4 defenseman is that we have 3 left-handed defensemen in the top 4 already. So he can't play the top minutes because we have 3 players who are already playing those minutes. and there's only supposed to be 2. One of them's playing on his offside.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So that's where it's like it doesn't matter how good Harley's going to be. He's going to end up on the third pairing unless somehow him and Hakanpää can beat out a Lindell Lundqvist pairing, which is probably going to be more sound defensively just because of Lindell.
And right now, that seems to be the deal, that Lundqvist and Lindell are going to be together. And they've had a couple of preseason games together. What it's been told is that they're pretty decent together. They work really well together, which is not any surprise to me because Lundqvist has a lot of the same characteristics of John Klingberg and in his game and how he plays and stuff like that. So, and Esa was really, really good with John Klingberg. They were our top D pair for a good half decade, maybe even longer.
Yeah, I expect Esa to have a pretty big bounce back season if Lundqvist plays with him.
He wasn't bad. He just wasn't as good.
No.
If you go back and look at numbers,
Lindell, he was bad.
Yeah.
If you go back and look at metrics, they are severely dropped.
They're severely dropped, but I still don't think that he was like terrible. Right.
Correct, but the role he's asked to play, he can't be as bad as he was.
Yes. Okay.
He's not
that's
asked to play
yes.
a difficult role.
And
it's obviously difficult. It's not, I don't know how to say it, active. Not as an active role. That's a good word. I like that.
And the cap hit that he has, he's at $5.5 million. He's a defensive
defenseman.
A lot
to do that.
If we're gonna win the cup this year, this is really what we need him to do. He needs to step up and he needs to play better than he did last year. So, okay. Anyways, kind of moving on from that. We kind of already talked about that anyways. But well, we're already getting kind of late here and we're exhausted because just life. So let's just get straight to what y'all truly think about this year. And is this the year the Stars do it? I think their window is open now. And because of the players they have coming up, because of the players they have now, what do you think of this team winning the cup this year? Do we need to pump the brakes and say we need to wait another year? What do we think?
No, we're not waiting any year because Joe Pavelski doesn't have another year to wait.
Yes, I'm right behind that.
That's where the team is at. The team is win now because Pavelski probably doesn't have that many more seasons left in him.
It'll be kind of cool because we'll have the San Jose Sharks fan base behind us, I guess.
Yeah,
because the San Jose Sharks are going to suck.
Let's go.
And even beyond just the Pavelski thing, that should at the very least be the expectation of this team. When you go to the conference finals and you lose to the Stanley Cup champion, when you played a bad series, and honestly played a bad playoff. If you look at the Stars playoffs, they didn't play great. Ottinger was substantially worse. We know why. He was exhausted and injured. Ben's crazy play at the end, not at all what you'd expect at that time from a person of that leadership quality. But overall, just not the best playoffs that the Stars could have played, and they still had to get beat by the Stanley Cup champion, who then went on and dominated their Eastern Conference opponent. So the expectation is to win the Stanley Cup. That's the expectation. If you don't win the Stanley Cup, you didn't have a good season. I mean, that's really what it is at this point. Everything is there. There's no reason for you not to win the Stanley Cup now. It's all on these guys who are up there to make the right adjustments, make the right plays, be ready for every game. And as much as the regular season does matter in building your team, getting better, it all is going to come down to the playoffs eventually. And then you're going to have to show up then in the big moments. So we'll look for the big games during this regular season, which I think is even bigger than going and winning the division and winning the conference and all that. How do you play in the big games when the cards are on the table? How do you play in overtime is going to be massive for this team. Seeing the clutch genes, seeing this team do the little things correctly is what I'm going to be more looking at during this regular season, projecting how they're going to do in the playoffs than it is purely their wins, I feel like. Because we know this team can win hockey games. Now we need to win hockey games at the right time.
And to me, it really is more the clutch gene more than anything. We saw them show up for big games last season. They were there. But like when we got to overtime, anytime during the season, there wasn't an answer ever. I mean,
and that continued into the postseason. It wasn't just a regular season phenomenon.
And we talked about that. We were kind of hoping that we're okay. 3-on-3's done. It's 5-on-5. We're really good at 5-on-5 hockey, and
we won one overtime game.
Yeah, exactly, right. And it was game 5, 4, 5, game 5.
4.
One of the two.
I don't remember.
One of the two. Okay. Y'all were talking about it. Kind of made me think about the Tampa Bay Lightning and their 2 cup runs. It kind of seemed like they kind of cruised through the regular season, and then they took that step up in the playoffs. I know that the Central is really bad. It's not the same Central.
Wait, did you say that the Vegas Golden Knights cruised in the regular season?
The Lightning cruise.
Lightning cruise. Okay.
Lightning.
Thank you. I was so lost.
The cups, yeah.
No. So the Lightning kind of cruised. They cruised through the specifically their 2 cup runs. The first 2 cup to the Stanley Cup Finals. Then they took it up a gear in the playoffs. Is that something that we see the Stars do? Or is it really like a disappointment if the Stars don't win the Central Division?
I don't think it's a disappointment if they don't win the division, but this isn't a team that's going to cruise just because they want to win. They feel like they have something to prove. The team is young enough where they know they're not there yet. Like they all feel like they have more to give, and they're going to want to win every single game all the time.
Yeah, that's kind of the vibe I get from them too. I feel like the Lightning, it was a lot more like calculated professional cold killers is what I got from the Lightning team that was there. And it's even with the way their GM ran the team. I mean, holding back players until the playoffs started. I mean, everyone knew what was going on there. The Stars team, they want to beat every team that they play, and they want to beat them by a lot every single time. And that's what happened last year. We didn't just win hockey games. We
Go look at the
blew
scores.
out hockey games.
Go look at the scores from last
hockey games.
season. It was we blew them out or we lost by 1 goal.
Yes, that was the only thing. So the mentality of this hockey team is take no quarter and never give up. I think are the 2 things that the 2 cliches I would give to this hockey team. So they're gonna keep scoring when they're scoring, and if they're down by 3 at the end of the game, they're not going to stop until the final whistle goes. And that's what I think has been so great about the identity of this team, is that that's what it is. I mean, they're never out of these games, and when they are beating you, you're going to get beat by a ton.
I'm really excited for this team. And I don't know if you gotten a chance to listen to the latest Podman Rush. They actually did a episode a couple days ago.
The King returns.
And they obviously talked about the AAC. They talked about, Stankoven and Bork and Bischel and stuff like that. But one of the things that they kind of talked about was the feeling around the dressing room is that expectation is there from the players themselves. But it's not like an anxiety kind of driven kind of thing, right? It's we feel it. Like, this is our year. This is our time to do it. We need to take that step. And the Central Division is ours. It's 100% ours. Colorado is not the same team they were 2 years ago. They don't have the same depth. And the Stars are getting all the hype right now. It's not the Avalanche that are getting the hype in the Central Division. It's the Stars, because they came out of nowhere, in quotes, and took the Western Conference by storm in the playoffs last year.
And ironically,
like we talked about, they didn't even play that great. They didn't play to their strengths. They could have played way better, and they still made the 3rd round.
Yeah.
So you should have every reason right now, as a Dallas Stars fan, as an executive, as a player, I mean, as a member of the equipment staff, to be excited about this team, the prospects that they have of winning the Stanley Cup this year and attaining their ultimate goal.
I just think it's hilarious that the Avalanche are essentially 15% Dallas Stars now.
That is true. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I actually did get a chance to watch the preseason game.
So
and
weird. It's so weird.
Yeah, I opened my app to look at it, and I saw Tufte scored, and I was like, nice. And then I was like, wait, not nice.
But and then you see Frederick Olafson also scored,
Yeah.
I
And-
saw that. Nice. Wait, no.
Wait a second.
and KV
It's-
Ranta had an assist.
Yeah, it's so weird. It's bizarre.
Just random because we're talking about it. They were so stinking high on Riley Tufte, like we're like ridiculous, talking about how amazing he is and how amazing of a preseason he's had. And
Well, they have to have someone come up and do good. So
well,
But he has all the tools. That's why the Stars drafted him. He's a big guy who can skate and shoot. Everyone's
He
gonna be
hasn't shown-
he
excited
can
about
skate.
yeah. Well, he
He
had
can
a goal and
score.
assist in the preseason game against the Stars. Just
that. Yeah,
saying.
he can for sure
I-
score,
I
but he
think
just never did it
that's-
for Dallas.
Yeah,
or
I think
Austin,
that's
guess.
just some revenge mentality in there. Everyone does good against their former teams normally.
Well, and let's not forget that I am Velnachushkin is still there too. So go figure.
Is he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's apparently still there.
That was
Moving
good.
on.
That was funny.
Sorry,
Okay.
Mr. Putin.
Anyways, moving on from that, we're in our Who Cares segment for the evening. Whose idea was it? Was it your idea,
Mine.
James?
I think
Yeah,
it's
okay.
the same.
James,
Yeah.
tell us about your idea for our Who
Okay,
Cares segment for the
The
evening.
Who Cares segment is your top 3 favorite Lego pieces. Favorite Lego pieces. Chris,
Way to expand on that, James.
it's a Lego
appreciate
piece.
that.
Okay,
I mean, what else
Uh,
is he supposed to say?
I don't know what you want. It's a piece of Lego.
Can I talk?
No,
No. Go ahead, Chris. Number
Thank
3.
you, sir. My number 3 is the large green base plate.
nice. Why?
I like it. I'm just kidding. You for some reason, everyone has like a billion of these. I don't know why, but everyone's got the large green base plate, and that's what you build all your Lego little thingies on. If you're building a little town, you put it on the green base plate, and that's the first piece you use when you're building a little structure. So my number 3, start the foundation. I picked the foundation. Green base plate.
Okay, Ryan.
Mine.
Number 3rd.
I am totally not doing this on purpose, but my number 3 is also the green.
Yeah.
But specifically, it has to be on one of those. I don't know if you've ever seen one. The one of those little tables, and it's got like the little bags like on in the middle where it has all the Lego pieces on the inside and stuff like that. Is that kind of cheating?
Yeah, the bags are not a Lego piece.
Yeah, but like specifically, it has to be like one of those Lego tables, I guess.
Nope, it's a.
So
you need a
it's not the
piece, not a
exact same
table.
thing, but
All right, disqualified. James
Okay,
number 3rd.
my number 3rd is the little Lego guns. Okay,
Hey
those-
man,
those
it's a
are
PC
so much
podcast.
fun.
Calm down.
you hold it Lego, you go pew pew pew.
Wait,
so that you shoot them.
noises. I mean, at least give us a trigger warning.
No.
All right, my turn. I'm going with the golden stud specifically, the golden one. The studs are those little circle pieces that you can just put on the little peg. These are great because one, they look like money. That's cool. I like money. Money. You can also like stack them into like a little towery tower, and then you flick them like that, and the pieces fly, and it's like a weapon. And I like weapons.
whoa, Chris! Trigger
Whoa,
warning here.
weapon.
Hey, man.
Whoa!
It sticks. It sticks. Sticks as weapons.
All right. Well, my number
Ryan,
2.
number 2.
Yes, my number 2. Again, it's kind of cheating, but I really liked the Lego lightsabers. Though those are some of my favorite pieces. So it
Good
was my
pick.
number 2, and specifically the Darth Vader one.
Well, wait. Is that 2 pieces though?
No, it's the count.
Because
I
there's a
don't think so.
lightsaber handle, and you put the blade into the handle.
Ooh, good question.
I think that is 2 pieces.
Okay, I'll go with the actual like colored part of the lightsaber then.
Blade.
If I have to-
Okay,
if we have to be
red-colored
specific.
rod is Ryan's second favorite
Hey, you
Lego
said-
piece.
Hey, no, hold on. You said gold there. You said gold, so it's kind of the same thing, I guess.
Yes, red translucent rod. That is your favorite piece.
It's my
Hooray.
second favorite piece.
Second favorite piece is a red translucent rod. Fantastic. James.
Okay, my second favorite piece is the wing pieces. Okay, you can slap them onto anything and it instantly becomes an airplane. You just around your room.
Airplane.
Amazing, absolutely amazing piece.
Insta airplane. That's what we're gonna market them.
Add
as.
it to a house. You got a flying house now.
We need to make them in real life.
What?
Jedi weapon,
Wings.
but the Darth Vader one does not count. I think Darth Vader's is separate. I don't know about that. We're gonna need a rules check. We're gonna send it to review. We'll get back with you next week on whether or not these are two separate pieces or one. I don't know. Two different colors on one Lego piece sounds a little bit sus to me.
I don't even own any Legos anymore, Chris. How am I supposed to know that?
The
The internet lies.
Yeah, you're right. Anyway, my number one. I don't know how no one has picked anything even from this category. And I think y'all are gonna feel a little bit foolish once I do declare my pick for number one. It is the Lego croissant.
Nice.
Yeah. So this. So if you don't know what the Lego croissant is, think of a croissant. Now Lego. But these are little tiny things. The little minifigures can hold them in their hands. That's great. It looks and compared to the minifigures, these croissants are massive. It is hilarious. These guys just have the biggest croissants and they're holding them by their little ends and they can just wave them up and down. It's beautiful. Also, both ends can be connected with Lego. So theoretically, you can make some weird looking things when you connect two Lego pieces on either end of the croissant.
I'm judging you hardcore.
Hooray. Jay, wait, who's next?
It's
Ryan.
It's Ryan.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Mine is not as cool as that, but for James's reason for being able to take wings and slap it on something and be able to fly it anywhere, my number one piece is literally just a wheel. You know what I'm talking about? It's like a little two-piece thing. You put it in the cockpit.
What is
Shut up.
that?
Shut up.
Two pieces.
How many pieces
Two
was it?
pieces?
It's
Wait
not
a
two
second.
pieces. It goes over two studs. Whatever.
So he said it
That's
was
what I
two
meant.
pieces, but it's not two pieces.
It's one piece. It's
He's
one
lying.
piece.
Right.
Just
I'm
like
not
the internet.
lying.
That's what I always say when I mean one piece, two pieces. That's the first thing I say when I describe something as one piece.
Anyway,
James, number one.
No, I'm not
He's
done.
not done.
I'm not done.
Let him say his piece.
Okay.
Let him cook.
You went on and continued on about a freaking Lego 3 minutes. You could literally slap this on any kind of Lego or anything, and you could pretend it's like a car or a boat or anything like that. So I loved that. Was always one of my favorite things to do, and it's always like the last piece I would put on because it was so satisfying to just watch it go onto the vehicle and know that it with that it is fully done. So that's my number one is just the wheel.
Just worse wings. Cool.
Okay.
Well, James, number first.
Y'all are both wrong because the number first is definitely the stud. Any studs. I mean, it's the most iconic piece. It's in every single Lego game. It's what you collect as money. It is money. It is Lego money. Who doesn't like money?
Chris like money. That's
Yeah.
why Chris picked stud as number 2.
That's stud's number one.
Croissant number 1. Only thing better than money is croissant.
Wheels better.
Okay, that's it.
Tired.
I
I
was
want to go
like-
to sleep.
Well, that was a little. It's like I don't think anybody won that one, to be honest.
No one won that one.
I don't think anybody won that one. That was pretty bad.
It wasn't even a draw. We all lose.
Yeah, we're all, the winner is y'all. You're the winner, listener. Great. Okay, come back next week. Season preview. Hockey happens. That we like that. We like when hockey happens. We have a full season preview for you. Probably we're just gonna talk about the Stars for like a ridiculously extended amount of time. Yeah.
Hopefully, we're
and-
not as tired.
We're probably gonna go
Yeah.
biggest strengths, most exciting thing to look for, weaknesses, question marks, all the stuff, all the stats. Yeah, come back next week.
And we're also going to be diving into the first game of the season, and we're also going to be diving into the opening night roster because I'm surely
be
by the
posted.
time we record next week, we will know who will be on the starting lineup on the opening night roster. So that'll be really interesting. We're really excited.
And
I
then
think this is our year, boys.
Get ready for the first post-game Starcastic remarks of the season.
Agreed. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. If you're listening or watching live, you're crazy. It's 11:11 in the Central Time Zone, or it's 12 where James is. You're crazy. Go to sleep. And then for those of you that are listening afterwards, we really appreciate it. There's even more of y'all that are doing it. As always, if you hear anything that you've liked here this evening, please consider leaving us a 5-star review anywhere you listen to our podcast. Go to starcasticremarks.com for our latest information on our podcast. There you can buy merch. We have our blog there as well that we're going to be doing a little bit more often this year. And as always, we want to thank DraftKings Sportsbook for being our sponsor. And along with Chris, along with James, my name is Ryan. And with the 3 tired boys that we are, you're welcome. We're exhausted, but we're still here for you guys, bringing you guys Dallas Stars content before the beginning of the 23-24 season. We hope you guys have a good, fantastic morning, afternoon, evening, and we will catch you guys on the flip side. Have a good evening.